Or why do these moments never get old, Kyle?
Because you never know when the last one is, you know?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this extremely different episode of Coop Radio. I'm not going to count this episode towards the other episodes of Coop Radio. This is its own separate thing. Because if you have not seen the news or you can't read the title of this video, unfortunately, earlier today as I'm recording this, which also I'm going to try to release this on the same day here today. Unfortunately, Kyle Busch has passed away. As far as reasonings why, what the thoughts are, is what may have caused this to happen. There's a lot of speculation out there, but I'm not going to take a guess or even throw out a different idea as to what happened. I don't know, and so therefore I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to just throw out a thought, at least on here, and don't want to come off disrespectful, especially this early on. So I'm not even going to try to speculate what has happened. You know, I'm only going to state what I know has happened. At Watkins Glen, last weekend, if I'm not mistaken, I can't even remember when this race was. I believe it was last weekend. Or, excuse me, this was 2 weekends ago. At Watkins Glen, it was a known thing that Kyle had a sinus infection that he had been dealing with. There's a clip that is starting to go around online of him during the race telling his team, hey, when this thing is over, go find the doctor, team doctor, or whomever doctors it is. I'm going to need some help. And he had been dealing with the sinus infection from assumingly before that race up until today. That is the assumption, at least. And then, unfortunately, today, only a mere hours ago, it was announced online that Kyle was hospitalized. And I saw the notification, and while I was at work, I thought, oh, okay, he's really sick, and, something's going on. There was no saying of an accident or anything like that. No, not like he was in a car accident or he was hurt in any sort of way. There was no indication of something fatal happening. They had said, hey, it's more so just a precautionary thing. Austin Hill was going to race the 8 car this weekend in his place, and I took it more as we're just being cautious here. And in my eyes, I went, yeah, it makes sense. They've been struggling on speed. Not to mention the fact that, hey, he's already how many points behind the cutoff. He's not going to make the chase. He's kind of chalked this season up to just try to get what he can out of the car. That's what I thought. And so therefore missing the 600. Yeah. If he's not feeling great, if he's not doing well, trying to even attempt to race 600 miles is probably not smart. So it made sense. And then at the time of me recording this, not even an hour ago, out of nowhere, I saw somebody post a rest in peace to Kyle Busch. And I fully thought that it was a joke, that it was a fake AI image, somebody fucking around. And I literally said the words out loud, that's not funny. I didn't think that was very funny. Don't tell me that's a thing. But it wasn't fake. It is true, unfortunately. And Kyle has passed away at the age of 41 today. Which, similar to the Greg Biffle passing, it does not feel real at all. It doesn't. Maybe other people are like this as well, so maybe I'm not on an island here, but when people like Kyle or Greg or some other people that pass younger, you don't fully comprehend it. To me, it doesn't feel like there are days where it's not like Greg Biffle is dead. There's days where it's like to me in my head, I don't process that Greg is gone. I don't process that, Kobe Bryant is gone. In my head, I more process that these guys I just haven't seen them in a while. With Greg Biffle, it's more so like the whole I just haven't seen him in a while because he's retired, he's enjoying retirement, he's off helping people or doing some small racing on the side, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. Not processing in my mind that he's not here anymore. And I think in my mind, it's easier for me to process. It's probably easier for other people probably to process as well because he had his full career. And like I said, he's not active anymore. And so he's not on your television screens every week. Well, this instance is completely different. Kyle is a person who has been a part of, just like Greg, but has been a part of my racing fandom my entire life. As far as I can remember. It was like, when Tom Brady passed away, or not passed away, good God, when he retired, it was a weird feeling because it's like every year when I go to watch football, Tom Brady's going to be on my screen. Whether he's on the Patriots or he's on the Buccaneers, he's going to be playing for some team. And then he retired. And it just felt like there was like a hole. There was like an empty hole within watching football for at least a bit of time. Now, this is completely different. Because, Tony Stewart, I know, is still out there. I know Dale Jr. is still out there doing podcasts. I can go listen to Dale Jr. next week, and I'll probably hear him later today, or, Jeff Gordon, I know, is still out there doing things. Jimmy Johnson, I know, is still out there doing things. Carl Edwards, he may have went dark for how many years, but he'll be on the broadcast here this weekend, and I can't even imagine what he's going to say. There's all these people that, in my fandom of the sport, have been involved in the sport for so long. And even if they're not racing anymore, I can hear from them. Now, self-admittedly, I will say, I was not the biggest Kyle Busch fan growing up as a kid. As a matter of fact, I hated him. Let's be totally honest. He was an extremely hard person to cheer for. Almost anything and everything that he said or did that you saw on your television screens or you saw at the track, it was extremely hard to like him. Part of it was, as you're a kid, I'm a Hendrick Motorsports fan. I'm a Jeff Gordon fan. So he's the antithesis of Jeff. He's, on the opposite team. He doesn't drive a Chevy. He drives a Toyota. He's not a part of Hendrick Motorsports. He's a part of JGR. He's not, the quiet goody two shoes guy. He's extremely brash and he's extremely loud and he's extremely overconfident at times and he's very cocky. And he's, again, usually at the other end of your favorite driver not doing well. And so you don't like him. He does the whole bow thing, the cocky bow thing, and he's very vocal about speaking against fans who don't like him. He has no problem in calling people out. And so when that's the case, it's very hard to cheer for him. And it was very hard to cheer and like him for about most of the time that I have seen him on TV, most of his Cup career. It's been very hard to be a fan of him. But I think like most things, like most people that are very good at a respective thing, that because they're so good, they draw the ire of people going, I don't want him to win anymore. I hate seeing him win. It's draining, and it's the same guy winning over and over and over again. And why is he so good? And why is he? But at the same time, not only is the reason why I don't like him because he's winning so much, but more so because of the fact that he does it in a way and he says things that make me not like him. But after so many years of that being the case, maybe it's coincidence, maybe it's not, but when Kyle ended up leaving JGR, the script flipped on him. And then all of a sudden, people are cheering for him. And people like him. And is part of that him switching manufacturers? I don't really think so. I really think the main reason why people liked him is because he did change personally. The way he presented himself on television, the way he presented himself in interviews, and the way he spoke on the radio even, and even how he raced. He presented himself in much more of a true veteran, true mainstay, true head of all the drivers. A true face of the sport at that point. And he had much more, whether he intentionally did it or unintentionally, humbled himself to a point where it made him much more likable and much more easy to want to see succeed. And this is me saying this out of pure speculation, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it had something to do with the fact that he realized, look, who cares about how well I do anymore? It's more about my son. What's been the main focus of him for all these last how many years has been trying to teach his son, trying to help his son, trying to guide Brexton into being a future NASCAR Cup driver, probably. Trying to get him into racing. And God, I can't even imagine what that kid is thinking right now. I can't even imagine what that kid is feeling right now. It's depressing beyond belief to even think about. And so now, look, the time now that we're all sitting here and reflecting on Kyle as a whole, I will say this as somebody who, like I said, was not a big fan of him for most of my fandom of NASCAR. I don't think that he's on the route. I don't think he's on the Mount Rushmore. I still believe that the four guys that are on the Mount Rushmore are the 7-time champions, Jimmy, Earnhardt, and Richard Petty. And I still think that Jeff Gordon is that fourth face on the Mount Rushmore. He has 93 wins, for Christ's sake. He has 4 championships. So it's hard to take him off. But that being said, look, Kyle is statistically the most winningest driver in NASCAR history, with over 200 plus victories in all 3 series. He does have 63 wins in the Cup Series, which is at this point 9th all time. He has multiple championships to go with that as well. He is still, in my opinion, if he's not on the Mount Rushmore, he's right there. He's like right there. He is one of the greatest NASCAR drivers of all time. And I mean, even if you look at the people ahead of him, it's hard to argue against, let's put it this way. Out of everybody in NASCAR history, these are the only people that are ahead of him in all-time victories. Richard Petty, obviously, with 200. David Pearson, Jeff Gordon, Bobby Allison, Darrell Waltrip, Jimmy Johnson, Cale Yarborough, and Dale Earnhardt. That's it. All these other great racers. Tony Stewart behind him. Junior Johnson. Lee Petty, Rusty Wallace, Kevin Harvick at 60. Dale Elliott, Mark Martin, Kenseth and Logano and Keselowski and his brother Kurt, and there's so many people that are behind him still, and there's only a very small finite of some of the greatest that have ever done it that are ahead of him. And so, yeah, it's not an argument. He's a Hall of Famer. It's not an argument that he's one of the greatest ever. But I still think, and maybe it's recency bias, I still think I'd have seen some of those names that I put ahead of him. I think he's better than a few of those guys, and I'd put him top 6 or top 5. Factoring in times of, when did you race? Who did you race against? How tough was the competition really? You have to sit there and really needle in everything and try your best to try to really narrow it down and be as fair as you can. But at the end of the day, it's hard to argue. So now you're at the point now where you sit and, well, what do you do? The man has passed. There's not really much you can do at this point, obviously. And now it's like I'm stuck. I don't know what else to say. I'll say this. Nobody, go back to a point I was going to make earlier, nobody at the age that Brexton is at, as young as he is, should not be able to at least get to an adult age without having the help of his dad. And I'm not even talking racing. I'm talking just strictly life. Think about all these years, the formative years of Brexton's life that he not just wanted to probably, but needs to lean on his father for. And now he doesn't have that. And people will say, oh, he'll be fine. He'll have the entire support of a $1 million corporation known as NASCAR to help him and anything and everything that he needs in his entire life, probably, not to mention the millions of dollars that his dad has made him and everything like that. Look, I understand in a lot of people's eyes to sit there and say, yeah, if my dad died when I was young, it wouldn't matter if I had $1 million some dollars or a bunch of money. It doesn't matter the amount of money that you have or that you would have. There is no replacing a parent like that, especially at a formative age that Brexton is at. And so, yeah, the kid could probably sit there and distract himself for the next how many years racing and doing other things with his life and trying his best to navigate becoming an adult with just his mom. But it is still extremely depressing to know that he won't have his dad. And 41, today is Kyle could have another 40 years. Easily. He could add another 40 years of life. Not to mention, just talking racing strictly, he had no indications of wanting to retire. He had no indications of wanting to stop. And what's even more sad, too, is that whole thing of the idea and the reason why Kyle didn't want to stop racing and why he wasn't going to retire anytime soon was because of his whole goal wanting to just race with his son. That's all. That's all he wanted to do. All he wanted to do was race with his son in the truck series and help his son. That's all he wanted. He didn't care at this point about his career. I genuinely believe that now. The more I think about it, the more I believe he was all set. He's won 63 races in the Cup Series. He's won over 200 plus races across all three series. He's won anywhere and everywhere you could possibly imagine. He's done it all. His accomplishments are set in stone. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest of all time. And in the back of his mind, he knew that. And so then at that point, what's his sole focus? His son. And people might even say, well, why did he take a step back in his career and in performance? That's probably why. You know, I had that rant how many weeks ago about when Denny Hamlin took a shot at Kyle about, not having it anymore or whatever. Which I hope that Denny's rethinking about what he had to say about Kyle now. But something I didn't even bring up at the time was probably the simple fact that, look, he probably was more focused on wanting to help his son, improve his craft, and try to get better, and get him prepared as much as he can for when the time came that he got an opportunity to drive a truck. And now that opportunity is gone. And Kyle doesn't get the chance to do what he wanted to do. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know the man, but everybody is obviously now, nobody's going to, even if they didn't like him, come out and say anything about how, oh, fuck that guy or whatever. Nobody's going to do that. That's suicide in so many different ways. But even with that said, I mean, everybody is coming out in true fashion of, showing how sad and depressed they are about this happening, about Kyle passing. It's so sad. There's really not much else to say besides it's just sad. You can try your best to sit here and quantify it in so many different ways and try to come up with the right set of words to really fully grasp the situation of what happened today, but there really is no way of quantifying it. I don't know what the future holds for the 8, and as of right now, I really don't care, and I don't think anybody does. I feel like sitting here talking about, who's going to take his spot for next year is disrespectful, so I'm not going to do that. But I will just end it by saying this. So many different people over the last how many years that I've seen, garbage people that just keep living. People that have driven their reputations or their livelihoods into the ground by the garbage decisions that they have made and the shit lives that they have lived. And yet they still keep living. Whether they're 70, 80, 90, almost 100 years old. And all they do is just tarnish their legacy, if they're a known figure, their livelihoods, their relationships with their family and their friends, and yet they keep living. And seemingly, the story that happens all too often is the person who, if they were in a bad spot, or if they were making bad choices and bad decisions, just starting to turn it around. Starting to right the ship correct their lives, make friends again with the friends they used to have, fix the relationships that they have with their family. And then right when that starts to happen, boom, they're gone. What's the famous line that Dale Earnhardt said in the interview just a day before he passed away at the '01 Daytona 500? What did he tell Darrell Waltrip? I got it all right now, Darrell. And then boom, gone. Just like that. Greg Biffle, another example of somebody who enjoying retirement, and all he was doing was helping people. All he was doing was sitting there, trying his best to help his neighbors, people in other cities, people in other states, people in rough spots, just trying to give back in any way, shape, or form that he could. And just like that, boom, gone. His entire family, gone. And what was Kyle Busch's goal the last how many years? Since he's all of a sudden became a fan favorite and everybody's loving him, and wow, Kyle's a really nice guy now. And what happened? He's been getting the shit beat out of him performance-wise the last how many years in that 8 car, and this year the worst. But in the back of my mind, I feel like he didn't really care about that. He was focused on his son, focused on trying to help his son, focused on his family, focused on everything else other than the Cup Series, focused on everything else other than something that he already mastered. And then what happens? This past weekend in Dover, he wins the truck race. What did he say? As one of the last lines of not just his career, but his life? You never know whenever your last one could be. You never know when the last one could come around. You never know. And yeah, you never know. These things are always shocking. And they always seemingly happen to the people and to the situations that don't deserve it. I feel extremely sorry for everybody in the Busch family. I feel extremely sorry for his wife. I feel extremely sorry for his kids. I feel extremely sorry for his brother. I mean, Kurt, the shit that he's gone through in his life and the mistakes that he's made and how he has turned his life around. And now he's saddled with having to grieve through this. I mean, losing your younger brother. That is something that can destroy people. And everybody in that garage area, you cannot convince me otherwise. Everyone in that garage area respects the living hell out of Kyle. I don't know what else to say. I keep trying in my head to come up with something more, come up with something more meaningful because, I mean, listen, this is, like I said, this is one of the greatest NASCAR drivers that has ever lived. And he's dead at 41. And I think I'm realizing now that there's no amount of words that I can sit here to try to really make it feel to really show or explain the gravity of what happened today. There really are no words. These don't happen very often. And we've had now two of one of the top end, most successful 75 best drivers to ever grace our sport pass away. Under extremely odd and dubious circumstances. Way too young. I think that anybody and everybody, should go back and see how good that guy really was. See how good Kyle really is and really was. And I hope that the sport does something. I know they're going to do some sort of tribute, but they really, really need to do a big tribute this year. Something to honor Kyle. I mean, it's one of the biggest names, if not the biggest name in the last 15 years. Right next to Dale Earnhardt Jr., but one of the biggest names in the sport. So, I'm going to end it here. I feel like I blabbered on for way too long and I said a whole lot of nothing there towards the end, and I apologize about that. But, like I said, when you sit there and you try to quantify in your head how shocking this is, how unexpected this is, and trying to come up with the right set of words to justify the gravity of the situation, it's not easy. So, I want to say thank you, first of all. Before I go, I want to say thank you to Kyle for all the years of entertainment. Whether or not I hated him or I did like him, I can look back on all the years that I hated him and I can be entertained by it now. All of the stuff he did in post-race interviews or in interviews in general, or all the stuff he did on track. At the time, I didn't like it, but I can look back now and go, what great times. Or I can laugh at certain situations now and find them funny. I can enjoy them now. As I've not only gotten older and I'm obviously no longer a kid, but I also know and understand how rare personalities like that are in this sport especially. So I want to say thank you to Kyle for giving us some unbelievable moments throughout your entire career. And again, I'm sorry to the Busch family and anybody and everybody who is a family member or friend of Kyle. Sorry to all those Kyle Busch fans out there. So let's hope we can keep his memory in our minds. Well, that's it for me. I'm not sure how to wrap this, honestly. I'm not sure the best way to wrap this, so. I'll be back again, same time next week, Tuesday at 6 a.m. Central Time, that is. Right here on the same channel. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. I'd say leave a comment, but, if you would like to leave a comment, I would simply ask you to just comment, rest in peace, Kyle Busch. So, thank you again for listening and lending me a half hour of your time. I'll see you all Tuesday. Hug your loved ones. Somebody else said on Twitter, I'll end it by saying this. Hug your loved ones. Enjoy the time that you have with your friends and your family as best you can. Because death is never something that you see around the corner. I don't care how terrible or sick you feel or how much you think you'll be prepared for it. You're never prepared for it. And death is never, ever something that you can fully prepare yourself for. So enjoy the time that you have. You think you're going to live till 80, 90 years old? I think the same thing. My goal is I want to live to see triple digits. I want to live to be 100 years old. But the reality is, and the likelihood of that is extremely, extremely low. And so I just expect to wake up the next day. But you never know. You expect to wake up the next day, but you never fucking know. Life sometimes just tells you your time is up. It's time to go. And it's so unfair. So enjoy the time you have left. Because the truth is that you don't know how much time you really have. Thank you again, Kyle. I appreciate the love or the entertainment. I appreciate the fun times. And I'll see y'all later. Take it easy.